Greetings and welcome to Spin a Yarn Live, the Tea Time Book Club and Crafting Circle, where today we are going to talk about the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Which only takes up like 3 chapters, so I'm not really sure why it's called that.
Anyways,
I can think of a couple of better names for it, but anywho.
You know how to connect to us? Of course, 0 people are watching right now, so you know. Tell us about our tea today.
So today, I think we've had this tea before, but I have India tea. Well, it says India tea vanilla, so vanilla Indian tea, I suppose. It's a black tea, and actually, a friend of mine gave this to me. Pay no attention to the container, as that is just superfluous. From World Direct. I don't know. I think it might be a whatchamacallit.
A blend?
No.
No?
Not World Market.
Tijuana?
No. Oh. Farmer's Market. I think it's a Farmer's Market tea. She got it at a Farmer's Market called World Direct, I think. But anyway, it's a nice, rich black tea with hints of vanilla in it, and I really, really like it. Paul didn't swirl it. Hang on. I left Paul in charge of the teas.
Mistake. I did a little dippity-do, but I did not do that full swirl. I do not have pro tea techniques.
I wouldn't say I have pro tea techniques. I just know how I like my tea. Anyway.
Yeah, you also have Halloween cookies.
We got them from our local German bakery.
I don't know if you can see this without making a mess.
Don't make a mess of the cookies!
I'm putting them back down.
Yeah, you are.
And let's see, I'm still working on this bookmark.
I'm still working on my friend's sweater.
Which is a shame because I was playing with another one of my bookmarks, and yeah, this is definitely the large hole version. The low count Ida, so it really should be going much faster than it is.
I have a couple more inches on my sleeve here. So
okay.
Anyway, we are discussing Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
So let's hop straight into, what did you think about the ruler of the universe?
Oh yes, the ruler of the universe. So I have one little minor note in here. Let's see. I said, quote, "Not sure what to say about the ruler of the universe. I guess as long as you are kind, there's no real reason to worry." I don't know, he's just kind of like a kindly old man who definitely lives in the moment, so neither the past nor the future matter. All that matters is what's happening right now, except for his cat. Because he's
a cat person, so he can't be a bad person.
Right.
Of course, now I'm going through James Bond villains and Inspector Gadget.
They were all the...
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
You're...
I can't do the cat.
I don't know. You're pretty...
do the Dr. Evil voice pretty well.
Anywho, but the cat I think is more interesting really than the man because he calls the cat the Lord.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, why does he call him the Lord? And when we first meet him, he's trying to get the cat to eat the fish. He's like, it's important that you eat the fish because if you don't eat the fish, you'll perish. You know, basically, if you don't eat, you'll die. So that's the only hint of this is important that you do now because it affects future stuff. Yeah. Is that the cat has to live. So
or at least that's what his brain is telling him at that moment.
Right. But it's kind of weird. He's in this little shack in the middle of nowhere. And he needs... And he's got a cat, kind of randomly. Like, where'd the cat come from? I'm not really sure.
One thing I was always interested in is... So, there's 6 people who go visiting him and ask him questions. And based on his... answers, they make decisions that affect the entire galaxy. And it's a very interesting thing. I'm very curious what those questions are Because...
I'm very curious who the 6 people are.
Yeah, that's true too. But with almost everything in the world, things are complicated. There is no easy answers. And you can take any situation and break it down to an obvious question that has an obvious right answer in 2 different opposite ways. Like almost every situation you can do that with. So yeah, if it's just like a really simple question, just the fact of framing the question that way will influence how this guy answers, and therefore he's not really ruling, he's being manipulated.
Well, I guess.
But, so I really don't think that's the case. I don't think Douglas Adams has set up the universe to be like that, because otherwise they would just do the same to whoever the acting president is and have Zaphod answer super obvious questions and have that apply to the larger complex issues.
Well, and I don't know, like that's the thing. When they try to ask him questions, when Zaphod, Trillian, and Zarniwoop.
Yeah, Zarniwoop, or whatever his name is.
When they go and try to ask him questions, he never really gives a direct answer.
Yeah.
So, I think he is the ruler of the universe. I think that the people who go to ask him questions just know how to ask the question. Or maybe it's that they've left him the crossword puzzle. Maybe he's meant to solve the crossword puzzle in the way he thinks it needs to be solved. And then they'll come back and grab that. And
that has the answers in it. That's it. That's very interesting. I didn't think about using that crossword, but...
Yeah.
Because
it says that they left the crossword for him.
Yeah, but he also says that they ask him questions. But yeah, you're right. It could be...
Well, but then he says, but maybe they're just singing to my cat.
Yeah.
So, maybe they come and they sing... the 6 men come and sing hymns to the Lord and then leave. And leave the guy who's the keeper of the Lord with...
The crossword that has
puzzle. Who's to say?
It's definitely difficult, and obviously it's supposed to be, not obvious. We're supposed to be left with a...
Is it obvious?
Did I just say it's obviously not obvious?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
Yeah, so no, I liked him. Like, the way he saw the world. Like, I could see him being very frustrating to know.
Yes.
Because he has to rediscover how pencils work every day.
Every time, yeah.
But
like both Trillian and Zaphod say the same thing. They're like, well, I think the universe is in good hands. And Zaphod's like, I think you're right. And then they leave.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, well, there we are then.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a commentary on government, but it's not obvious what their commentary is about.
Yeah.
It's just like... Okay.
Well, and you have to look at it this way. Douglas Adams is British, of course.
Yes.
So, I see it looking at it. So, when...
It would be
Right. Is this Parliament talking to the monarch kind of thing? Like, is that what it is? Are the 6 guys members of Parliament, and this guy at the end of the universe, is this supposed to be the king or queen of the time?
Yeah, and then having the president of the galaxy be... like the prime minister or something.
Right.
That could work.
So it's like...
obviously, we don't live in merry old England, so maybe some of our English viewers can... I'm
going to say that for you. Merry old England. You are free to criticize my accent as much as you want, because that was quite terrible. I promise I will not ever try to do a Dick Van Dyke Cockney. I realize that makes a lot of English people cringe in terror. and just no.
If I had any sort of memory of his accent, I would try it, because I'm bad at accents. So doing a bad Dick Van Dyke accent, or a bad version of a bad Dick Van Dyke accent, it would just be fantastic. But we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that. It's okay.
Now you had mentioned that...
So, let me read some of my notes here.
Okay.
Before we get into that. Because I had a few other notes first. For instance... Maybe this was a movie change, but for Marvin, they referred to Marvin as Marvin the Paranoid Android, which I guess rolls off the tongue a little bit, but I always thought he was Marvin the Manically Depressed Robot. Did they do that for the movie? Where Rick,
No, because
Alan
even in the
Rickman?
books, if you...
They never once referred to him as the manically depressed robot in the books.
No.
Not so far. They
Not so
refer
far.
to him as the paranoid android, though.
Yeah, but he definitely doesn't show signs of...
Being paranoid.
Paranoia.
He's depressed.
Yeah.
He's just...
So I think that's just a
so ridiculous.
different term.
Brain the size of a planet, and they ask me to go and get... This is me trying to do the Alan Rickman.
That's
version.
almost Richmond from IT Crowd. Now you have to do Marvin as...
No. Marvin as Richmond?
Yes.
Okay. So Jen asks, why don't you ever see any Cockney goths? Wait. So Richmond says, oh, they're all too cheerful. But he says it in a cheerful manner, because Richmond is anything but cheerful. Like,
I know.
He's not a depressive goth. He's very kind of bubbly.
Well, do it.
I think this was mine.
Marvin complaining about the cheerful doors in a Richmond voice.
Because I just want to do Alan Rickman, which I can't, because no one can impersonate Alan Rickman, because he's wonderful. Not that the actor who plays Richmond isn't wonderful. I love that guy, whose name I can't remember. But let's see. I don't know, because I just want to... They're too similar.
Yeah.
Too similar.
Makes it hard.
It's really hard.
Okay, moving on.
It's too similar. Moving on. Okay, so yeah. So one of my other comments is Zaphod is most unlikable. I don't really care for Zaphod. But at one point in the book, they... what are they talking about? It's probably the guide doing its own little spiel, like it does. Like it always seems like
The best part of the books, really.
Yeah, like there always seems like there's a narrator to these movies. Now, if you ever watched the miniseries special from the 70s and 80s, I think 80s, or possibly 70s, I don't remember when they were, but there's a narrator who always reads excerpts from the guide, and that's always the voice that I hear when I hear the little excerpts. So they're talking about a book or a publisher or something. I can't remember exactly what they're talking about, but somebody mentions that you get to win a special prize if you manage to do 6 impossible things before breakfast.
Oh, that's the brochure of...
The brochure! Okay, it's a brochure that's on the planet with the guide?
No.
No, see, he doesn't remember.
Keep talking, saying what you're talking about.
Well, what I'm saying is that there's the mention of 6 impossible things before breakfast, which if anyone has read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which is 2 books, then they would know that is a quote from Alice in Wonderland, or Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So that got me thinking, is this just a sci-fi version of Alice in Wonderland? And oddly enough, it kind of works. I mean, the rabbit hole ends up being a Vogon ship, and you can't really go back to the planet that you came from.
We do have some size changes with that in the first book with the race of aliens who heard Arthur say something, came to invade our galaxy, and turned out to be swallowed by a Cocker Spaniel.
Yeah, there are a lot of size changes, and even the mice.
Yeah.
There's not really much about mice in Alice in Wonderland, but the idea of something so small can be a problem. Like when Alice gets into the situation with the flowers, and that they don't like her. I can't remember. I have read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, so I've read both the books, but of course the Disney movies and other variations are fresher in my mind just because they're visual. But so, and then at one point, Arthur mentions they're back on Earth. They realize that they're on Earth later, that some millions of years in the past.
Yep.
Which is odd to say that it's millions of years in the past, because the idea that Ford comes up with is that the people they crash landed on the planet with, those guys are going to evolve or become basically humans. And Arthur hates that idea. But anyway, so he's talking to one of the women there, and Ford had mentioned the destruction of Earth 2 million years in the future. And one of the women is like, is that really going to happen? He seems so sure. And Arthur makes mention that the destruction of the Earth seems more like a dream. Either a dream he's had in the past or the dream of future. Which, that's all the Alice in Wonderland books are, is Alice having a dream.
Yeah.
And she wakes from the dream. So it made me think, if this is just a sci-fi Alice in Wonderland, who are the characters? Well, Arthur's gotta be Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole. And if you ever actually read the books, you'll find that she's a lot like Arthur. You know, things are happening and there's not really anything she can do about it, so she just kind of goes with the flow, which is more or less what Arthur does until he gets pushed a little too hard. And even Alice will push back a little bit harder when she feels her life is actually in danger during certain adventures. So, I figure Ford is the Cheshire Cat, always leading Arthur around in the wrong direction. Sometimes the right direction, because everyone's mad here. It's only through chance or careful planning that you're not.
Yeah.
So that Ford kind of reminded me of the Cheshire Cat. I thought Zaphod might be the Red Queen, because he's kind of super annoying, and he definitely wants everyone to do what he wants. He hasn't commanded that anyone, loses their head or anything, but
he is the ruler.
He was. He's the but that was the commentary in the commentary in Alice in Wonderland is the idea that the monarchy, because it was written in Victorian England, maybe shouldn't be in charge. Like they're not really doing a great job, kind of thing. So that's why I was like, well, maybe Zaphod is a representation of the Red Queen, and then that got me to think about Trillian, and I was like, well, where does Trillian fit in? Because the White Queen, even in the books, doesn't really make much of an appearance. Now, the only reason anyone might even know about the White Queen is because of the Disney remake, which is visually very interesting. And so, it's okay. It's okay. I have Alice in Wonderland versions that I prefer over the new Disney one. Even though I do like Johnny Depp, but I really didn't care for the Alice that they had. But, so they got me thinking that maybe Trillian, as being another person of Earth, is the sister. Because what happens is that at the end of the first book of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, she wakes up, after freaking out, and her sister kind of calms her down because she was with her sister at the time. And Alice goes back to sleep, and they're lying by the babbling brook, and her sister looks up in the trees and then dreams of her sister's world at the end of the book, indicating that her sister also goes to sleep and has odd dreams too. So I'm like, well, maybe Trillian is the sister, because she doesn't do as much as Arthur, excuse me. But, I got stabbed by my knitting needle. But she's still tumbling down the rabbit hole with him. Now, better. She's doing a little bit better because she's a little bit more...
smart.
Well, yes, she is definitely more intelligent, but she's also been at it longer.
Yeah.
She's been traveling around with Zaphod for 6 months. And if you're going to travel around with Zaphod, then, you're going to experience some wacky things, so you're probably going to be able to just go with the flow a little bit better than Arthur is at this time. So... yeah, what do you think about the idea of it just being a sci-fi version of Alice in Wonderland?
Interesting. Interesting. That's very interesting. As my Japanese calligraphy teacher used to say. Well,
knowing what your Japanese calligraphy teacher meant, I find it mildly insulting.
No, it definitely works. We start off with that very similar situation of his house being slated to be destroyed to make way for a bypass, and then Ford turning up. See, I would put Ford more as the White Rabbit role.
Okay.
With Arthur following Ford around, and because we don't see Ford until after his house is already about to be destroyed, then we meet Ford, and it's with following Ford that we get the parallel with destroying the...
But he doesn't want to go with Ford. Ford has to convince him to come with him. Much like the Cheshire Cat has to kind of manipulate Alice into going where he wants.
I don't think it's an exact attempt at remaking it. Because another thing is... so a lot of Alice in Wonderland, like, almost everything in Wonderland... I forgot what the name of the land was called.
Underland.
I was like, what was the name of it? What's the name of the land in Alice in Wonderland? I don't know. But things that she interacts with. So a deck of playing cards becomes the
Queen's Guards.
The Queen's Guards. You know, she meets caterpillars and all this kind of stuff, and even more so in.
I wrote down who. Oh, Marvin. Marvin is the caterpillar.
Yeah.
Mostly because the caterpillar is played by Alan Rickman in the movie, and then Marvin is played by Alan Rickman in the movie. Anyway.
But yeah, so if you take a lot of the events of the first book as being Ford leading, or Ford getting Arthur, who's about to lose his home, drunk, and just like traveling England or Europe, all these foreign lands, while Arthur is kind of in this stupor, and this is the story his brain is telling him, it still kind of works. Going to really great restaurants, all that kind of stuff. So I can definitely see that.
Poor Arthur. The restaurant at the end of the universe. I said last time that all I really remember from the book was the cow, which isn't really a cow, but a bovine-like creature. It's weird, though, because like I said, it's called Restaurant at the End of the Universe, but they don't spend a lot of time at the restaurant. Really, it's more trying to figure out, well, what's going on with Zaphod, and why does he have this compulsion to do this, that, or the other, because he blocked out part of his brain, and all that jazz, which is still interesting. We still don't know.
Or it's raining. Okay.
Yes, it's raining outside. Rain terrifies my husband.
No. Okay. No, I just heard noises. I thought, is the camera falling off or something? I don't know.
Camera's not moving.
Camera's not moving.
There would be an earthquake effect happening for our viewers. Which would be very Power Rangers of us, but we're not going to do that. That's fine.
So, one of the things I picked up in this book, obviously, I'm still working at becoming a better narrative analysis type person. Some of my favorite YouTube channels are things like Wisecrack, who does a lot of philosophy of movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff, like trying to get to the underlying philosophical messages of different characters of the stories, and then also film theory and game theory, which looks at films and games obviously and just tries to put together the theoretical sense of them.
You want to know what's a good one for game theory? Is Kindergarten. That's good.
Yes.
Should watch that one. So they do a Let's Play of it, and then which is hilarious. I highly recommend. But then they also do a game theory about it, about a certain point of the game. And Matt Pat's wife Stephanie does the voice for one of the characters.
It's so good.
It's really, really good. But anyway.
So, with all that said, one of the things I'm picking up on in this book is it's really focused on like being either with the group or being alone. I know there's a better word for that dynamic.
Solitary?
So the both sides dynamic. So we start off as a group working together to summon Zaphod's great-grandfather.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The ghost of his great-grandfather.
And then they talk about the weird time paradox having to do with the naming issue, which I don't understand what that means. I don't get it, but apparently he's Zaphod the First, but his great-grandfather is Zaphod the Fourth.
Yeah.
And
so the naming is backwards,
which
is...
It's very strange.
And the other thing... So before we continue my point, the other thing, his grandfather also has two heads. But we learned in the first book that Zaphod attached the second head probably to do the secret. And I'm thinking, because his great-grandfather is also in on this secret with Zarniwoop and...
with everybody, yeah.
With everybody who's in on secret. So I think his grandfather did it first.
Or he is his grandfather. They talk about that in the book.
It could be.
It's like, it's not so bad, you becoming your own grandfather because everything is kind of set. Everything fits together like jigsaw pieces.
Yeah.
Everything fits. But
so yeah, we have this big group dynamic of actually getting something done, and then they get separated, and then we have an adventure of Zaphod alone where things go wrong.
Where things just go weird.
And weird. And then we get back together and we actually make it to the restaurant at the end of the universe. And then, yeah, little breakup as Ford goes visits the next plot point, and Arthur and Trillian are just shell-shocked. And then they go off, steal a ship, and things happen, then they get separated again. And then this time, Ford and Arthur, well, Zaphod and Trillian go off to find the ruler of the universe, so they do their thing, and then Ford and Arthur end up finding the real people who became humans.
Which depresses Arthur to no end. I mean, and I can sympathize.
Yeah.
With why he's so depressed, saying these cannot be what I am descendant from.
But again, we have this group of hairdressers and telephone cleaners
and marketing directors
directors.
All this weird. All
and Douglas Adams being rude to certain professions.
Oh my god, so rude.
In a fun way. But they are able to stay together as a group. They do a really good job of kind of staying together as a group under the one leader, the captain.
Under the one leader, who is constantly taking a bath.
Yes.
I don't understand that. Is he a mermaid in disguise? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't understand why he is always bathing. Like, does he have a phobia about being dry? Because that was like the first thing that they did, is they needed to create a way for him to be constantly taking a bath. Now, the water's not warm anymore because they ran out of matches and stuff and ways to heat things. But it's like, why is he always taking a bath?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if there's any symbolism in that. But anyway.
So yeah, you get this sort of thing, which I found very interesting. I don't know what to make of it yet, because I'm not a top-rate analyst.
Yeah.
But just trying to pick up on patterns.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the weird bit, because they're trying... One of the points of one of the plot points, I suppose, is trying to figure out the question. The great question. Because everybody knows that the answer is 42. Everybody knows that. But they're trying to figure out, well, what is the question? And in theory, because Arthur, being a native of Earth, was there right before it was destroyed, in theory, he has the answer somewhere in his mind.
And Marvin even says he could read the question in Arthur's mind.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the question. Like, he even says it's written on your brainwaves. So...
And then things go wrong, so they don't actually ask him.
Right, they never get a chance to ask him, because
so you
everyone...
didn't really care about me anyway.
Didn't really care about me anyway. So... But here's the thing. If when they crash land on Earth and they're with the people who are supposedly going to become the human race, then they are not native.
Yeah.
You know, they are in fact alien to Earth. So if Arthur is descended from them, why would he have the question? But Marvin says, no, it's there. The question is written on your brain.
And it could be that enough generations, the computer that is Earth incorporated this external source into its program, so any of their children started becoming part of the program as well. It could be.
Could be.
But it's also an indication that maybe they don't survive and we really are descended from ancient hominids.
Maybe.
He leaves the question open-ended, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, that's a good mystery. There might be a book theory behind it if MatPat ever does it, but I don't think there's enough real evidence to point really one way or the other.
Yeah.
He makes a very convincing case of us being descended from a bunch of useless people, and it's very convincing if you look in the world around us.
Indeed. But so they do try to figure out what the question might be by using Scrabble pieces. Some people are aware of this scene, some people not so much. But the idea that Arthur is randomly pulling out Scrabble pieces, and as he does, Ford is laying them out. And it spells out a question, and the answer to the question is indeed 42.
No, it isn't. The question that comes out is, what do you get when you multiply 6 by 9, which would be 54?
Obviously, I didn't memorize my multiplication times tables.
But interestingly, and this was not meant by Douglas Adams, some fans came up with it and, brought it up to him, and he was like, I was just trying to find an innocuous question. But if you actually multiply 6 by 9 in base 13, it is 4, 2. So 4 times 13 plus 2. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be 26, 52 plus 2 is, 54. Which is what you get 6 by 9.
Huh.
But, no, that was not intended by Douglas Adams. It was supposed to be... So there's a lot of, back in the day, there's a lot of fan speculation, like, well, maybe that really is the question and answer, and it's not supposed to, and it's so deep that it's not immediately obvious to us why it works.
So why do they keep saying 6 by 9, 42? As if they're saying that 6 times 9 does in fact equal 42.
I think they're laughing because they break into hysterics about it. And I think it's because
true. They are laughing hysterically. Yeah,
because the moment is so intense because it's actually spelling out a question. And they think they're about to actually get it, and then they get a question that
doesn't even have the right
off
answer.
By 8.
Doesn't even match.
Yeah. I think that just breaks them. I mean...
At this point, they're broken anyway, because they're stranded on this planet.
Yeah, I think in the next book, spoiler for the next book, they decide to go a bit mad. But
all I remember about the next book... What is the next book, though?
Life, the Universe, and Everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I remember is that Arthur becomes the Sandwich Man.
No.
Ford becomes the Sandwich Man?
No, I think you're thinking of mostly Harmless.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that situation is a long time off.
Oh, they stay on Earth for a while then, do they?
Yeah, I think most of the... it's hard to say. I don't know exactly. I don't remember the next book clearly, and we don't want to give too many spoilers away.
Sure.
Everybody can go out and reread it, or read it for the first time. And enjoy it.
It's a fun series.
It really is.
It is very silly. There's a lot of English humor in it, so you gotta kind of deal with that a little bit. And bear in mind, it was written in the 70s and 80s, so take that as you will. But I still like this whole Alice in Wonderland angle, though.
Yeah, no,
I think it works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it can be interpreted in many different ways. Yes. I've lost track of everything.
Obviously. Well, let's talk about Zaphod.
Oh my goodness.
And, I don't really like Zaphod, but is that, the point? Because we know his past self blocked out part of his memory in order to do or find out certain things. Now, was meeting the ruler of the universe, was that the end goal? Because after that scene, we kind of leave Trillian and Zaphod, and then we focus on Ford and Arthur.
Yeah, and we don't see them.
We don't see them again, at least not in this book. So, was that his end goal?
Yeah, I feel like that was the mission, is to finally pierce the secrets and discover who's ruling the universe.
And then poor Zarnawup, he just kind of ends up stranded on the planet because he's arguing with the old man, or he's trying to argue with him. And then Trillian and Zaphod leave. By the way, rude.
Yeah, super rude.
Up and leave the guy stranded on this planet. Because when he tries to go back to the cottage where the ruler is, he won't let him in. And of course, he's not paying attention to what's going on outside of his little shack. He's only paying attention to the fact that he needs to relearn how to use a pencil. Takes a hot minute. And then he's just kind of wandering around. And of course, we never hear from him again. And it's it's a little disconcerting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those intentional fridge horror. Well, not even fridge horror. For those who don't know what that trope is, there's a series of tropes called fridge horror, fridge genius, stuff like that. The idea is when you're watching a show, I think Pinocchio was one of those movies that after the movie, you get up to get something from the fridge and you realize, what about those kids who got turned into pigs? Or, I don't remember Pinocchio, and it's like...
They got turned into donkeys.
To donkeys or something. It's like, we never saw them again.
What
happened to them?
They were bad kids. So they got turned into donkeys.
They are permanently donkeys?
Yes.
So it's, that's fridge horror is like a bit...
Later on,
a small
think,
question,
well,
you think, wait a minute. And of course, fridge genius is the same on the other way, where you think back and it's like, oh my god, that makes... Oh, they tied that together? Oh.
Yeah, the exact opposite of what happens after you watch Memento.
So yeah, no, I think that was a bit of, not really fridge horror because it's made very obvious right there, but yeah, we never hear from him again.
He spent so long trying to figure out and meet up with the guy, with the ruler of the universe, and apparently his cat. That's not how you're supposed to drink tea.
It is the perfect way to drink tea.
Yeah, wait till it gets cold and then down the whole cup. That's
yes.
exactly how you drink tea.
I learned from my mother, who may be watching. Hi, Mom.
I never once saw your mom just drink all of her tea down. Okay, first of all, she doesn't use a little teacup. She uses like a big old honking mug. And she likes her tea nice and hot. She would scold her throat if she tried to do that. Hi, Elaine.
So, yes.
Apparently, we're not as well prepared for this one as we usually are. Let's see what my
No, it's definitely much more of a comedy. I liked a lot of the asides again because all the asides with the guy. That's really. I wish Douglas Adams would come back from the grave and just write the entire Hitchhiker's Guide. No story around it.
Well, now that
just
we've
all
got,
of the...
I mean, now that we have things like, I read these on my Nook, you know, I have a device that has several books on it in a little handy dandy thing, smaller even than this. Nope. But here's my question, which happens right at the very end. We see Arthur again talking to Millie, I think. Or I think it's Millie that he's talking to. And he's talking about how, he read something in a book. And she's like, oh, what book? And he goes, it doesn't matter, I threw it away.
Mm-hmm.
Like he threw it into the river earlier that day. And that got me thinking, does Ford know he did that? Because, that might not be good.
So, in this case, read the next book. And then we can bring up that question next time we do a Hitchhiker's book, and I'll talk about that a bit, but I can't talk about it now. But yeah, no, he just tosses the guide away. I do like how in the first book, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, over 1 million pages. Now, granted, I was looking at some of my favorite video game wikis that are out there, which is basically what the Hitchhiker's Guide is, just
Wikipedia specifically for travel. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Wikipedia, the Star Wars wiki,
you see what they did there?
only has like 250,000 pages or so, and I think that was the bigger one. So it's like, none of the wikis we have right now of a specific fantasy universe seem to be as big as Hitchhiker's Guide. But you know Wikipedia is.
Well, yeah, in its entirety.
Wikipedia is huge. I don't know how many pages it has, but...
I mean, you said Wikipedia was 250,000 alone. You said it was
Wikipedia. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wikipedia is 250,000 pages just by itself.
Just about Star Wars.
Right,
and then
just about Star Wars.
Wikipedia is obviously much bigger.
Much bigger. Like,
yeah, no, I was hoping I could find like just a fan page or like Firefly, the wiki Firefly page, and if that was over 1 million, it'd be a little bit more. But
well, no. You're probably not going to get more than Star Wars simply because they had.
Yeah, no, I was hoping that the Star Wars one would beat it. I was gonna go like Star Wars and then work my way down until I found something that had 1 million pages. But
what about Star Trek? No. Well, what about Doctor Who?
No, Doctor Who's smaller than both of them.
Well, that surprises me because Doctor Who has had a television show, books, radio shows, and other things that I can't. But when you think of Star Wars, you think mainly of the movies and the books. But I guess.
And comic books and.
they have had comic books and they've had.
They've had a load of things.
Video games and whatnot.
Yeah, but it would be really interesting to have like a. I really want somebody else. Maybe. What's her name? I'm forgetting her name now. Anne McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Who does a lot of combined writing with other authors. Someone like her or some other authors to like pick up the Hitchhiker's Guide universe and continue it on.
Well, yeah, you'd have to pick up the universe because I may not remember the entire series, but I know how it ends. I won't tell you how it ends until we get there, but yeah.
Well.
Did I do that wrong? No, I didn't.
But yes.
But yes.
We have one viewer who is on right now who has been having the worst connection issues. Like you can say it goes from 4 viewers to 3 viewers.
On and off. I do see that. I wasn't sure if it was the same person or if there's a bunch of people just like,
I can't imagine we're having that many different people trying to come on and leave.
Well, if you're having connection issues,
we appreciate you continuing to try.
Yes. It's very nice of you, despite, I'm sure, your supreme annoyance about everything.
Just remember, it ties into everything if you've read Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which there is a British TV show of now.
Of course there is, because what...
But we don't get it because we live in the...
America.
Backwater states of America.
I know, we can't get... I wish we had BBC.
There's really... I despise how in this day and age, and I know things have changed a lot from, even 30 years ago when the internet pretty much did not exist, to now. Things have changed.
The internet existed, just wasn't commonplace. Maybe
No, it didn't.
We're 30.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Is like, when we were about 10 or so, like, in the early late 80s, early 90s is when, a lot of the websites actually started happening. Yeah, no, it's been a really recent development.
But anyway.
But I feel like, despite us moving so fast, we really should not have region-locked content anymore.
No.
I know why we do, but I wish we didn't, so that we could just, go online to any website from any country and be like, hey, I want to watch this show that you're streaming.
Yeah.
There's no reason I can't pay you. I would pay premiums for
I wanted to buy...
travel.
What was it I was trying to buy? I was trying to buy Keeping Up Appearances because it was on Amazon Prime England or whatever it is, and it wouldn't let me.
Nope.
Because my credit card is in America. I just want to watch my break come. They took it off of Netflix. Bring it back. And Vicar of Dibley.
America can't handle the complex, dry wit of London.
I would not say Keeping Up Appearances is dry wit. I would call it low budget slapstick. For all that happens.
See, that's the joke, because a lot of British humor is low budget slapstick.
It is. Especially like original Doctor Who, which we need to do a review of original Doctor Who.
We'll do a review. We'll do it by season.
By season. What does by season mean? Does by season mean by Doctor?
No. So the first Doctor, I think, had 3 seasons.
Okay.
Tennant had 3 seasons.
That's it?
Yeah.
I thought I had like 5.
No.
I mean, I know I guess, yeah, Eccleston only had the 1.
Pertwee had 5. Everybody's favorite, what's his name?
Tom Baker.
Baker had 7.
Yeah, it's not that he was everyone's favorite, it's that he had he was there for the longest period of time, so he's the most well-known. Yeah. Usually when you think of Doctor Who, okay, before Doctor Who actually became popular again, when you thought of Doctor Who, you tended to think of a tall person with curly hair and a long scarf, and that would be Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Who was the tallest Doctor.
He was kind of there as Doctor Who, if I recall correctly, was really hitting it off and starting to be a well-known thing throughout England.
A bit full of himself was Tom Baker. Actually is. He's still alive.
Yeah. Which is why I love his companion, Leela, which we will talk about when we do our... What would that be?
Down the line is what
11,
it would be.
Maybe 14th episode of Doctor Who?
Down the line.
So. And Douglas Adams wrote a number of Doctor Who episodes.
He did. Because Douglas Adams is cool beans like that.
Also known as the better episodes.
I don't recall if they were better or not.
Yes.
So says my husband.
Because if you think about it, the Hitchhiker's Guide has a lot of similarity to the idea of Doctor Who. Hitchhiker's Guide is a bit sillier. It's basically Doctor Who made sillier without an overpowered main character.
That's kind of funny saying making Doctor Who sillier. I'm just saying Doctor Who's pretty silly.
Oh, it's pretty silly, but...
So I guess you're right, because the first book was written in 79, and then we have 80, 82, 85, 86, and 92 for Mostly Harmless.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could totally be based off more of Doctor Who, which begs the question, who's the Doctor?
Well, I don't think it's the Doctor Who universe. I think it's just...
No, but let's say if it's based off of Doctor who would you say is the Doctor? I would say Ford.
Ford's probably the best fit. I mean, both with classic and new Who's.
New Who? Sorry.
I mean, I could see Tennant playing Ford.
Yeah.
In this as... Yeah. It would work. What? Why do I get pats?
Because you're so articulate.
Listen, working on it.
I can't remember what row I'm on, you guys.
38.
Shut up. No, did I just finish 8? Or did I do 1? I can't remember.
Okay, so the total perspective vortex. What did you think about that?
I think I liked... Okay. So I liked the twist in that we weren't actually in
the real
universe.
We were in a universe made for Zaphod 2.
Right. So when he went in there, he learned what he already knew, i.e. that he is the center of the universe.
Yes.
And the universe revolves around him. Which, on the one hand, is funny, but on the other hand, is annoying. Because you kind of want Zaphod to realize that, in fact, no! He's not the center of the universe. Because he's not a very likable character. And I'm not sure if he's supposed to be or not.
No.
But, like... So, like, you know, part of me wanted him to go... not go completely insane, but at least be, like, a little bummed out that he's not the center of the universe. But, as it turns out, you know, in this particular universe made specifically for him, he was. But then he finds this ship.
Oh, God.
That was really funny to me.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene.
That was extremely funny, where he finds the ship, and, you know, everyone's like, oh, please return to your seat, you know, blah, 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 blah. And all of the occupants of the ship wake up screaming, trying to get off of the damn ship that's had them in stasis for however long that they've been there. And then the one guy who's not actually a zombie, but it reminded me of like a zombie scene in a video game or a movie or something where the one guy, we don't know who he is, but he gets up and he starts chasing Zaphod, and Zaphod freaking out. And it's just so terrifying. And then it's like, no, dude, I'm your friend. And he's just like, what?
Yeah, so all the passengers have been put in stasis and are awoken once a year to get light refreshments.
To get biscuits and coffee.
Yeah. But, yeah, so the intercom comes over. Transstellar Cruise Lines would like to apologize to passengers for the continuing delay to this flight. We are currently awaiting the loading of our complement of small lemon-soaked paper napkins for your comfort, refreshments and hygiene during the journey. Meanwhile, we thank you for your patience. The cabin crew will shortly be serving coffee and biscuits again.
Shortly. As in a year from now. You know what? I just finished 8, so I'm on row 1.
And yeah, so they've been in suspended animation for 900 years because...
And Zaphod's like, no one's coming! Bring you your lemon whatever!
Yes. So it actually reminds me of a Brian Regan joke.
Oh dear.
In, which one was it? Was it Standing Up? I think it might be his special Standing Up, where he talks about, you know, flight crews and delays and all that. It's like, somebody put our... I can't do the accent, but think of a pilot accent.
Somebody put our engine in upside down.
And the only tool to fix that is in Madagascar or
yeah,
something.
in Madagascar. So,
the tower has instructed us to
wait here for eternity.
Until everyone dies a natural death.
Yes, until everyone dies a natural death.
Of course, Brian Regan does it much better than we do.
Being that stand-up comedy is his profession.
Yes.
So
do watch his specials because they are hilarious.
He's really funny. He really is. I was listening to him at work, and people were staring at me because I was laughing so hard. And then I told one of the bankers I'm listening to Brian Regan, and he goes, "Oh, I love Brian Regan. Which one are you listening to?" And I tell him about the bit, and then he starts laughing hysterically, which is great.
And if one of those viewers is Mom, made both my parents when they were down here watch or listen to the All by Myself. And it was just a fit of giggles that we could not stop from because of Chicken Musket.
My favorite is later in the bit when someone's yelling at him. He goes, "What is he saying?" And he's like, "Did I not just prove my earlier point?" I love that part.
Vampires?
Vampire. And he says it so definitely.
Oh, yes, he does.
He's like, vampire. And it's like, no, Brian, no.
No, it's manslaughter.
It's manslaughter. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing there. Not that he goes into his bit about manslaughter, but he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. But he tries to do a bit about vampires and fails spectacularly. Because, like, Eddie Izzard, I would believe...
could pull it out.
Can improv on set. And, you know, just pull it out and just go on
emergency
about whatever.
Joke.
Yeah, emergency joke. 2 people walk into a bar.
A priest and a rabbi walk into a bar.
But yeah, Brian Regan definitely seems like more of the prepare type person, and
yeah,
he tried. It was worth seeing him try, but
it was very funny. But
anyways, we're not talking about him. We're talking about Douglas Adams, who is also hilarious.
Oh, he's so silly. You know who's also silly? Terry Pratchett. We need to do a Good Omens review because
at some point.
Read Good Omens, a team effort between Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Okay, so we're coming up to our hour. Did we want to stop here? I've kind of run out of things to say about this specific book, except just how hilarious it is. Yeah,
I mean, again, I think there's not really much to analyze left of it, except for the Alice in Wonderland angle.
You really want that so bad.
Well, it's not that I want it. It's just that I'm sure for other people who have read the books, they're probably sitting here going, "Well, duh," because there's a lot of Alice in Wonderland to it, and as I said, they sometimes even quote Alice's Adventures in Wonderland with the 6 Impossible Things Before Breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the brochure of the restaurant at the end of the universe. If you've done 6 Impossible Things Before Breakfast, why not round it out with...
with watching the universe come to an end. Which is, you know, which was kind of part of the pun joke, because even I had forgotten that it wasn't so much that it was the restaurant at the locational end of the universe all the way out.
Yeah.
but actually at
The temporal
end. Because I had forgotten that part. I'm eating all the cookies.
Well, you bought the cookies.
You bought the cookies.
That's true. I bought the cookies, and she's eating all my cookies.
I made him buy the cookies.
Yes. So
next week, we're not doing anything.
Next week we're not doing anything. The week after that we are doing Ancillary Justice.
I haven't read it. Paul's read it.
I've read it. I found it on the bookshelves when I was looking for... I got a little upset in the past because there was just... The types of books we were reviewing, it's like, they come from a very...
certain mindset.
Center of things. But this one... I almost bought it purely just because of the advertisement on it, because it was a box set, and it's like, won every single science fiction award, or like the only novel to win every... It's like, on the back here it says, winner of the Hugo Award, winner of the Nebula Award, winner of the Arthur C. Clarke Award, winner of the Locus Award, winner of the BSFA Award, and it's like, okay, you're selling me that won a lot of awards, is it good?
Won a lot of awards.
Because, you know... Just because it wins awards doesn't mean it's good. It's very interesting.
It doesn't mean it's good.
It is good.
Hey.
I quite like it.
We'll talk about it.
It's a...
Or the weekend.
I don't want to say a higher grade level read, but it requires more thought to read.
I'm screwed.
So like a lot of the books we've reviewed so far, like Myth and like Hitchhiker's Guide, you can get into them as a kid, no problem.
Yeah, Dresden I wouldn't read as a kid.
Well, that's because of the topics he covers. The reading level, any kid could, you know, hop right in and read, I feel.
Oh, well, yeah, I suppose you're right about that.
Whereas this one, it's a little, the writing style makes sense for what it is, but you have to get used to it. You're like, what? But once you get used to it, it's great, and I love the main character. And then my mom has recently, because hi mom, no, unless you're the one who's constantly disconnecting, in which you're back, hi mom, this poor person, so many disconnects.
We appreciate you trying.
I almost feel like this has to be mom, because who else would care about us enough
to actually keep coming back?
Let us know if you're not my mom and you're the one having trouble.
Are you my mummy? One episode, nobody dies.
So when I grew up, our living room had the long wall, not a short wall, a long wall of bookshelves, just books all over the place. I grew up in a family of readers. I keep thinking of my mom as the main reader because the rule growing up was do not get between mom and her book. And that's how she kept discipline.
He likes to think that there's still a rule about that. Like when he's reading, I shouldn't bother him.
I enforce it.
Yeah, but no, that ends up into a tickle fight then.
Yeah. And I usually win and then go back to reading.
He's bigger than me.
But, you know, even my dad, like, when I was growing up, my dad would read as a bedtime story to little infant me. He read me the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy twice. And he's much better at doing voices than I am, but he's like you, able to do...
Oh, Bill, next time we see each other, you gotta do some voices for him. I've never heard him do any silly voices.
No. He's a very not serious person. I mean, a very serious person. No, he's not. So yeah, books aplenty. So when I told my mom that I was having trouble with some of the books because they were all written by...
Old white men.
Yeah, old men of the 70s and 60s. She recently emailed me a huge list of various authors she really respects, female authors, and their viewpoints, and gave me kind of a synopsis of what she got out of some of those books. So after Ancillary Justice, we'll probably do like one or two more of the series we're working on, maybe like the One Piece, maybe pick up the Myth again. And then we'll pick up one of these other authors. And the way I'm thinking of doing it is like we'll have 3 ongoing series at a time, like long ongoing series at a time. So in this case, we have Dresden, One Piece, and Myth. And then we'll have like 2 shorter series going on. So like we'll pick up Ancillary Justice, and we have Hitchhiker's Guide, which will be ending in like 3 more of its episodes.
And increasingly
and then we'll
misnamed
switch those.
trilogy.
Yes. And then we'll have a bunch of one-offs too. And I think if we cycle it like that, it'll be a good way of doing things that people are interested in ongoing, but then also have enough variety in there.
Yeah.
No.
What?
So that's just my thought.
So yes, so next week we are not doing a show.
Nope.
We are traveling next week. So that won't be happening. The following week, hopefully we will.
Yeah.
But if we do, we're not sure
What the quality will be like.
well what the quality will be like as well as when it will be. Because if we're still doing it on Saturday,
I'm going to try and set it up that we still do it at the same time, which will be 4 o'clock. Though where we are, that will be
that'll probably be in like
like either
mid-afternoon.
5 or 6 o'clock for us. But I'm going to try and set it up so that we do it at 4 o'clock in Eastern U.S. time,
Yeah.
which is not
We're
EDT.
doing a trip. We're doing a transatlantic trip from Southampton to New York. So that's why I don't know what time it will be because
Yeah.
we'll be going through time zones at a fairly constant rate.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that's
So I
like.
think we're going to be 1 or 2, maybe 3 time zones ahead. But that should be fine because by the time 4 o'clock rolls around here, it'll be later where we are. So we'll just do for us a late episode, but so it's on schedule. If we have a good enough connection to stream to YouTube.
Which we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure the ship has good enough Wi-Fi, but we'll see how that works.
Yes. But that'll give you time to pick up and read Ancillary Justice.
Hopefully.
If you trust my judgment, which, I mean, I haven't shown too much yet. It's not as much of a comedy as Hitchhikers. In fact, I wouldn't say it's a comedy at all.
Okay.
But it is sci-fi. If you like sci-fi, slightly more serious, slightly, more in-depth, go ahead and pick up the trilogy. I picked it up in a box set, and by the time I got through this one, I was eager to pick up the second one. And I don't remember the split between the second and third one because I just straight through them. So
And he was all sad when he got to the end because
I was
then there
so
were no
sad.
more. They stopped.
I was
kind
like, and Neki, write more. She is writing another
kind of like
book or a
Fablehaven.
series that takes place in the same universe but not with the same characters.
It's kind of like Fablehaven. You got to the end of Fablehaven, and you're like, what?
I know.
We'll probably do Fablehaven. Fablehaven is actually, if you want to go check out Fablehaven, you gotta go to the kids section.
Yeah.
Not even the teens section. Go to the where they keep Harry Potter
And again,
Rick Riordan, where they keep J.K. Rowling and Rick Riordan. You gotta go over there.
yeah, that's another super fast read. It's 7 books, but
It's 5 books.
it's 5. It's
5.
5 books.
But they get increasing, like Harry Potter. They get bigger
Yeah.
and bigger the more you down.
But even still, it's super quick reads. Like each one can probably be done in a day to a quick reader, like my mom or myself.
Yeah, I mean, I read the Patricia Briggs books, which usually top out at around like 270 pages. I read those in a day. So
Okay.
anyway, we're done. If you
Okay.
are interested in video game type things, I'm doing a Let's Play tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
On the channel Unfortunate Plays.
Yeah. I will be continuing Zelda: A Link to the Past. This will just be my second one.
And I've been doing Monday through Thursdays an episode of the original Zelda game.
It's much harder.
And my commentary is so bad. You have better Let's Play than I do, but I'm getting better.
I
My
talk.
last episode on Thursday was actually, I would dare say, somewhat good.
I'll have to watch it.
No.
I'm gonna watch it.
But, you know, of course I'm getting better. So there's that.
You know what the secret to comedy is? Timing! You should watch Nostalgia Critic too, because he's
It's
hilarious.
true.
Although that's an old joke he's not doing anymore, but I loved it. I was sad when they got rid of it. All right.
All right.
Thank you
So
so
we're
much
done?
for joining us.
See you in 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Maybe 3.
I don't know.
Again, I'm sorry to the person who kept losing their connection.
But you're
thanks-
with us right now, so
thanks
thank you for
keep coming
joining
back.
us.
So, so have a great week, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, hopefully.
Yes.
All right. Bye. Osiris didn't make an appearance. Sorry about that.
Yeah. What happened to Osiris?
Osiris is sleeping.